Welcome to the Windows Central Podcast, episode 56 for July 7th, 2017. Hey everyone, Daniel Rubino here from Windows Central, joined again by Zach Bowden for another exciting week of the Windows Central Podcast, where we'll catch up on everything that happened this week with Microsoft and Windows 10. Although, being a holiday week, not a whole lot of stuff went on, but there was some big news coming out, including, just dropped a few minutes ago, the new build for Windows 10 Insiders, which again brings a huge changelog, including a lot of fixes, but some small improvements as well. We'll talk about the timeline feature evidently being dropped, which I would get sad over if I actually knew what this thing did, which we'll get into about that. We'll talk about the new Xbox Design Controller. So Xbox Design Labs, if you're not familiar, is going wider this summer. And we'll talk about that experience and how some people did not like my design. We'll also talk about Zach's NuVision review, his tablet that he got. He's a big tablet fan, but this one is not too bad, but he's going to share with us his thoughts on it. And then finally, we'll conclude with the Surface Arc Mouse and how I'm slightly disappointed in it, but others may enjoy it. And we'll maybe fill in some other little things there as well. Zach, how are you doing this fine weekend?
I'm not too bad. How was July 4th?
It was same as always. I go to a barbecue with my close friends from high school, where we all live very close to each other. So we get together once a year. About 80% of them all have children. So there's two couples, including myself and my best friend, and we don't have children. So it's always kind of fun, but it's, definitely a good time. Didn't do any fireworks, but that's okay.
You're not a true American then?
No, that's okay, though. I just sit by a pool and drink and eat tons of food. But let's get into the news here. Let's talk about this Windows 10 build. So another build dropped. Actually, there were technically two this week, but one of them was them testing something. And now I would say a real build has dropped. So what is new with this? If you could summarize it in a few words, actually. Yeah.
Well, I mean, build 16237 for PC, if I had to summarize in a few words. A bunch of much welcome improvements and fixes and a couple of new features as well. So build 16237 is the only build this week being released for PC. There's no mobile build. So mobile fans weep if you want. I don't know. So the the desktop improvements include stuff to Microsoft Edge, such as, you can read aloud with Word and line highlighting for websites, PDF read aloud, and a bunch of other improvements. Like I said, this build is mostly improvements and under the hood changes. There's a nice new animation in Edge now. If you favorite a web page, you get the icon, the star now jumps over from the favorite button to the actual hub icon, which is really nice. It's the little details like that I think lots of people like in Windows 10, and we need more of them, I feel like. So there's also improvements to the Windows shell. A big one here that I'm sure many of you will appreciate. No more logging out to fix blurry desktop apps. So if you've ever... people who use Surface devices with the dock might have noticed this, but if you have a Surface device and you're using desktop apps on your Surface and you dock it into a different resolution monitor, and then you start using that same app on that resolution, you may notice sometimes that it looks blurrier than usual or weirder. And the only way to fix this is to simply log out and log back in. But now they've changed that, so all you have to do is simply close the app and reopen the app, which is a big change that many people will appreciate, because obviously logging out and logging in is a bit of a farce, whereas the just simply closing the app and opening the app again will be a lot better for most people. Notification and Action Center improvements. This includes them resizing some of the buttons in notifications, for example. And they just look a little bit better now, which is really nice.
Quick question with the resolution thing and the blurring of apps. Do you think that it also affects when you change your display, the enlargement, so 100% or 150%?
Right. Yeah.
And then it goes... you can basically run it, but it's like, if you want everything to look really good, you should log out and log back in. Do you think that fixes this too for that?
I would guess yes, but I still feel like Microsoft will recommend the log out and log in just for the optimal performance. I mean, I haven't tested this properly yet, so I haven't actually tried that, but I will do that and let you know next week. But yeah, I imagine it does improve that as well. So yeah, there's also improvements to My People. They've changed the name Shoulder Taps. I didn't mention this before, but I don't think they had the rights to use the name Shoulder Taps. So they've changed it in this build. It's now called Pop. So when you get those weird emojis on the desktop when they pop up from your pinned contacts, it's now called a pop rather than a shoulder tap, and that will be reflected in settings or wherever else you can see pop notifications and whatnot. The emoji
I've never used. I have those people things. I have you down there.
I mean, I've never sent you one. If I can send you one every day if you want.
just
a different one.
Action.
Yeah.
This is one of those things where I see the my people thing, and I'm like, that's so cool. And then I never use it.
Really
now,
nice.
part of it's because I want GroupMe integration with it.
Yeah, me too.
And so, although Microsoft did publish, and I tweeted it out last night, for developers, the snippets they basically need to integrate their app into My People. So. In theory, this should start happening.
I mean, I've seen one third-party app so far utilize My People, and that's Unigram, which is a third-party Telegram client, which actually I read about earlier this week. It's good to see at least one developer picking it up. Hopefully more will follow. Emoji Panel has seen some improvements as well. You can now search for Emoji 5.0. Now, if you watched my build video for the previous build, I think, or the previous build before the last one, I did try this search functionality, and they hadn't yet hooked up the search to the new emojis, which they have done now, which is good. So if you want to search for pretzel, for example, you can do that, and it will find the pretzel. More improvements under the hood. The game mode icon in the game bar has been updated, some pretty much more improvements and under the hood stuff. So yeah, this build is a very big fix build and under the hood changes build, which is not bad at all. We are pretty much... we're well over midway through development at this point. We're getting towards the end now. Only, I'd say maybe less than several weeks at this point of development before we hit RTM. So it's getting exciting. Now, considering we are so close to the full creators update being done, it's probably worth talking about features that won't be making it into the full creators update, because Microsoft has yet again cut one of the bigger, I'd call blockbuster features, I guess, of the full creators update, timeline. Now, if you remember, if you cast your minds back to May 2017, Microsoft announced a build timeline, which was essentially going to be a glorified recent apps screen that shows you all of your recently opened apps from the last however many days, not only on your device, but on all of the devices that you're signed into. So whether it's...
I don't get this feature, which is also why I don't get why I feel like Microsoft could have been like, we're going to release Benazzle Figgle for Windows 10, and people would be like, yay! And then they'd be like, oh, we have to delay Benazzle Figgle for the next version. And people would be like, boo! And at the same time, they'll never know what Benazzle Figgle was or what it was supposed to do. They're just upset at the fact that it's not going to be there. I don't know, this feature, you actually have tried it, and now it's, of course, being developed, so it wasn't, necessarily fully working, but I don't get the benefit of this. And, I don't know, some of these, I kind of get the Edge one, so that works right now. It came with the Creators Update, so if you are on your desktop PC and you're browsing in Edge, and you have some tabs open, and you pick up your Surface laptop, as Microsoft would like you to do, or any Windows 10 PC, you can go to Action Center and pick up where you left off. And I kind of get that. I don't really use it often, but I kind of get it. This one, though, can you explain to me sort of why I would want this?
This is more of a visual element to that same feature, because right now it's like, oh, it's in Cortana, it's buried away. It's not really very contextual. This would sort of put it front and center through Task View. So you'd click on the Task View button, then you click on the Timeline button, and it'd give you a full big grid of apps that you've had open today and in the past across devices. So, for example, I could have had a PowerPoint presentation open on my Surface laptop yesterday. And then on my desktop, I just go into Timeline. I can see that yesterday on my Surface laptop, I had that PowerPoint presentation open. I just select that and it opens it and picks up exactly where it left off. So whereas the current pick up where I left off function is sort of limited to what it shows up. Because it only works in Edge for me so far. And it doesn't it doesn't allow you to specify how far back you want to go. It's just recent apps. And then if you dismiss that, they go away forever. With the timeline stuff, it's a slightly more permanent solution in the sense that it stays there for a lot longer and you can actually see the dates and organize them by date and device and whatnot. So it's handier in that way, but I have to admit as well, I'm not as devastated about this feature being cut over the My People feature that was cut with the Creators Update. I was a lot more upset about them cutting that feature from the last public release than timeline from this one. So,
and even still, for me, My People is something like I I have some icons that I never use it. I would like to use it, but I just have I haven't found it. It hasn't come into my workflow yet. You know what is the biggest feature in the Fall Creators Update? It's the ability to search for emoji.
Right. So yeah,
and I don't mean that to be mean. I use that all the time. I hate, same thing with my Android phone or even the iPhone or whatever phone it is I pick up. And this happens now on PC too. I want to use an emoji, and I'm like, I just gotta sit there and stare like an idiot at this page of icons and just scrolling. And I'm like, where is the damn? I've seen it before. Don't know what it's called. And so there's a feature I use all the time, and I know, and like I said, I'm not trying to be mean here. This is those smaller features I think are the ones people actually want to benefit from. Whereas this one, I'm just not as excited about, but that's me.
I do. I you know what? I recently wrote an article which I wrote about my top 5 favorite features coming in the Full Creators Update. And one of them was that emoji picker. And all the comments were like, you've added the emoji picker? This is terrible. You can't... Emoji picker is barely a feature. I'm like, hang on a minute. This is something you're going to use because it's the 21st century and it's going to be useful to you. Trust me, it really is. It's like arrow snap. You know how... What do they call it now? Just window snapping. If you've used a version of Windows prior to Windows 7 without arrows, it's a whole nother world. It's like, oh my God, I can't control these windows anymore. You do not understand, being able to throw your window to the top of the screen to have it maximize is something we don't even think about in 2017. And this emoji picker things like that, it'll be like, oh, just search for the emoji. Imagine going back to a time where you couldn't search for the emojis and you had to manually go through. It is a small change, but it's a change that people will definitely appreciate.
It's really all these smaller features. For me in Windows 10, on a laptop, it's the 3-finger swipe up to get task view.
Yeah.
On laptop, that streamlines work so much faster than just going back to the taskbar and looking. I don't know. It's for me a lot of these little things. And Jason Howard mentions OneDrive placeholders. That is probably. I actually don't really care about that too much. I actually have no problem just syncing the folders I use all the time to my PC. But I totally get why this is sort of a big deal for a lot of people, and it works very well. I think it's actually kind of cool how
the more I think about it, the more I wonder why this update's called the Full Creators Update. It's even less about creators this time than it was previously.
There's not so much inking stuff, right? We haven't really heard too much.
The anniversary update was more for creators than the creators update was, I'd argue.
So do we have that feature though with the pen and navigation?
Yes, you can now use the pen to scroll web pages and stuff, which is good. But I wouldn't dedicate a whole update to that, to naming that. It is Microsoft's marketing strategy is really weird for Windows 10 right now. Anyway, so them canceling timeline, I'm okay with them canceling timeline. It's the fact that they've done this again that kind of gets on my nerves. It's sure, right. They specifically announced timeline at Build as a full creators update feature. You can go back and watch the presentation. They do say it on stage. These features are planning for later this year, the release of the full creators update. They showed timeline, cloud clipboard, OneDrive placeholders, I can't remember now, story remix, all that good stuff. They show all of that, and it's all there, all planned for the full creators update. Now, Joe Belfiore is the one who announced the fact that timeline was cut. Joe Belfiore says on Twitter, it's not even an official blog post. It's not even mentioned I don't believe it's mentioned in this week's Insider Build post from the Windows blog, that timeline is being cut. They did an announcement with the My People stuff when it was cut. They was like, hey, we're not going to actually deliver this in time. But for timeline, they haven't even made an official statement. It's simply Joe Belfiore tweeting that timeline will be cut.
Yeah. Microsoft never makes an official statement about ending support or
cutting things.
What happened to band? It just slowly kind of
what happened to mobile?
Same difference. There's Zoom, same thing. All this stuff just. No company goes here's that great thing we announced a couple years ago that we said was awesome. Well, we're canceling it because it failed. No one wants to talk about that, but this, I was going to say, as far as Microsoft overpromising and under-delivering, kind of reminds me of us and how we have to schedule stuff every week. And sometimes we overcommit to what we can write and do. And so,
right. I totally understand the fact that they want to cut some stuff. And I get that. That happens with every release. And the only reason it's more of a big deal now is because before we didn't know about the features they cut. Back with the Windows 8 days, they wouldn't show us anything. Microsoft wouldn't tell us what was coming until it was literally ready to ship. which is entirely different from how they do it today. They announce things way in advance. For example, nearly, I think 98% of the Fluent design stuff that they showed off at Build was stuff that wasn't ready. It was all concept art and blah, 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 not real stuff.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, or not the problem. I think part of this is the fact that everything they're doing right now with this insider program, these twice a year feature releases, is new to them. And they keep getting better with things, right? So we're constantly seeing improvements. If you look at where the insider program is, like say today compared to 2 years ago, it's like dramatically different, right? Mm-hmm. You have all the feedback stuff. We were just talking about before. I'm putting my Surface laptop on the fast ring, and I enrolled and rebooted, and now immediately goes in. I don't have to wait 24 hours. So there's all these small improvements, and what I'm just trying to say is maybe, hopefully, this is sort of like Microsoft learning what they can commit to publicly versus what they can actually deliver. And they're definitely in a tight situation because, previously they never mentioned anything about what was coming. So it was easy to cut things and, which still happened in the background, right? We just didn't know about it. Now they feel this pressure to publicly, Build to talk about what they're working on. And they're pretty... They usually don't even say coming this fall. They'll say like coming in a future version of Windows 10. So they don't even kind of commit to it.
Except this time they did, and the last few times they've done this with the My People stuff as well. They were like, all right, full Creators Update My People, full Creators Update Timeline. But then both of these obviously got cut and delayed. So obviously the easiest way to get around this is to say is what Dan just said. On stage, they say, right, what we're about to show you is in very early stages of development. It's not planned, or we're unable to commit to a specific release. This may be later this year. This may be in the one after or the one after that. It's not, we haven't tied it down to a release yet. I mean, if they just say that on stage, people totally understand. I mean, especially at Build, it's full of developers. Developers totally get it. They're all developers. They know that things get pushed back, and it takes a while to build things. This audience is going to understand more than anybody that you can cut and delay features whenever and wherever you like. But if you stand on stage firmly and say, these 5 features are coming in the full Creators Update, and then cut 2 of them,
it looks bad. In a sec. Hold on.
Okay, it looks really, really bad. And although Joba Fury hasn't said this about Cloud Clipboard, I also think Cloud Clipboard might also be delayed. I that's not confirmed, but that's the whispers I've been hearing, and whether it's true or not, we'll see in a few weeks. And it is a few weeks left of development, so it's kind of probably a good thing that they have cut Timeline, because when I tried Timeline, it worked, but it was a little bit rough. And I don't know how useful it's going to be. So I've still got to try and keep talking because Dan isn't here, and I've run out of things to say. And the next story is Dan's. So you know what? I'm going to move on to the NuVision stuff because Dan's not here. So this week I reviewed the NuVision 8-inch Windows 10 tablet. And if you've been following along with some of my articles at Windows Central recently, I've been complaining at the fact that there are no 8-inch tablets. I moved on to the NuVision review because I've run out of stuff to say.
I'm back. Don't worry. It is not pizza time, although I wish it were.
I reviewed the NuVision because after I spent a couple of weeks looking on the market for a premium 8-inch Windows 10 tablet, and I couldn't find one. They don't exist anymore.
Talk about that before you do this review. So I'm sympathetic to the idea that there aren't any of these devices out there. And I think that's because, the biggest complaint I've heard is that the tablet experience for Windows 10 is still And when it comes to these devices, I'm still kind of weird about them. Years ago, I had the ThinkPad from Lenovo, which was an outstanding piece of hardware. But without a keyboard, I find these devices just kind of weird. I want it, and yet when I get it, I don't. And I also don't like the aspect ratios, although the one you reviewed it's a little bit better. It's not, I think 16 by 10, not 16 by 9.
So, yeah.
So it seems to be a little bit better, but the processor is kind of, I just feel like this category, once we get to the Qualcomm stuff in the fall, will become a lot more interesting than, because I really just detest Atom processors. But you tell us your experience with this. The hardware at least looked really solid, though.
Right. So pretty much what I found on the market is that pretty much all Windows 10 mini tablets are cheap pieces of rubbish. They're all plastic with standard HD. What's it called? Just not full HD. sub HD. What's 720p now? Just normal HD?
Yeah, just HD. Yeah,
just HD screens, which look terrible and they're ugly and gross, and I won't buy a device with just HD screens anymore. So after looking, I found the NuVision. There are two models. I got the slightly older one. There was a 2017 model that has USB-C. My one didn't. Mine's still micro USB. We'll get to that in a minute.
You bought one without micro USB-C?
I didn't do the research till afterwards. Anyway, I bought the tablet, and it was, I think it's $79 on Amazon, which is incredibly cheap for a computing device of any kind. So I bought it, and I was immediately impressed with the build quality. It feels really nice. It's metal on the back, and it wraps around the side, so it's all kind of one bit of metal, then obviously a glass screen on the front. It has a full HD screen, which is also a really nice touch for this kind of device. Of Intel Atom inside, so it's pretty rubbish. 2 gigabytes of RAM and 32 gigabytes of internal storage, which is expandable with micro SD, which is nice. Full a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. It's an all-round, small Windows 8 tablet. It doesn't have pen support, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted a small tablet in the first place, was so I could take notes with a pen. Now, there are none on the market right now that support pen. I don't believe.
$79.
Not, yeah, also, even I was willing to pay a lot more for a device with pen support, but I couldn't find one. Honest to God, I could not find one. So, settled for the NuVision.
Because they all failed.
They did all fail, right. So, I settled for the NuVision, and I like it. It's a happy little tablet that does what if you're not going to use it to do power work, because this is a mini tablet, and I said this in the written review, these devices aren't designed to run a whole bunch of different things at the same time. This is a device that would benefit greatly from Windows 10s in the sense that it can't download crap from the web. It's literally just through the store, and that's pretty much what I use it for. I only download Windows Store apps, whether they be Slack, which is slightly heavy for this, or Twitter or whatever else is on the Windows Store. I use it for that, and it flies. I say flies. It performs well enough with those kinds of apps. If you're planning to run Google Chrome with Spotify in the background and Slack open in another window and whatever else, then this will slow down. It's not a powerful device. But if you're running full Windows 10 apps, which are smart about how they use CPU and memory and all that, and how they sleep in the background, whatever else, you'll get by a lot easier on this device, and it feels great to hold. It's one of the reasons why I got it, and the screen is great. Honestly, the Full HD screen at 8 inches looks really nice. It's also relatively bright. It doesn't get incredibly bright, so using outdoors is pretty much a no-go. But using it indoors and watching, laying on the sofa and stuff, that's perfectly fine. Speakers in it are literally terrible. They are the worst speakers I've ever heard in the world. So I, plug in
speakers. Yeah, it's probably speaker.
Yeah, right. Speaker is probably it wasn't great. So I, use headphones. It's got a headphone jack, so you should be all right.
Put the Dolby Atmos or Windows Sonic on it.
Yeah. And it's also got a capacitive home button, which not many Windows 10 tablets have anymore. Even the Surface Pro doesn't have a capacitive home button, but this one does. And if you tap it, it actually turns the screen on, and you can tap it again to unlock, which is really quite handy. So overall, it's an okay tablet for the price you pay for it. I definitely recommend it. If you're looking for a lounge about media consumption mini tablet for when lying in bed in the evenings, then this is great. I
have the appropriate name for it. It's a toilet tablet.
Right, that's a great name for it. It's the perfect toilet tablet. It's the best you can get for the price you pay. And if you're using just Windows Store apps for the most part, you will get by just fine. Battery life on it is it's an Intel Atom, and it's only got a 3,500 milliamp hour battery, so it's not going to last forever. But it's not terrible for again, it's only $79. I'm not expecting Surface Pro like speeds and battery life and whatever. But yeah, I didn't feel ripped off, put it that way, and because I spent my money on this.
Yeah, I think it's just the form factor is a little weird, and I was kind of ripping with on Windows 10 those tablets, but at the same time, somewhere over here I have an iPad Mini. And I just absolutely love the hardware. In fact, I tweeted Instagram a long time ago with a Windows 8, I think it was, because it's so old, but start screen on it and what that would look like. And it's, especially with that aspect ratio, it's just such a cool device. Having said that, I never use it. It's the same issue that I had with this form factor, which is it's most about consuming media, which is a luxury I just do not have in my life. I mean, if I'm going to consume media, I have a 65-inch 4K. I'll use that. And I don't travel. And if I travel enough, I'm not taking a tablet and a laptop with me. I'll take whatever I'm using at that moment. So for me, this is where, if you remember this, the Lenovo Yoga Book was a device that I feel like at the time it wasn't perfect, and there's a lot weird about it, but that device, if you threw in the Qualcomm in there, USB Type-C, and made some improvements, to me, that device is what I'm looking for, because you could, first of all, it had a keyboard. Now, it's not the best keyboard in the world compared to, say, physical keys, but when you want to bang out a tweet or an email, I would much rather have that form factor than like a tablet, where you got to use a thumb keyboard. On the other hand, you could still fold it around as a yoga, and it was thin enough to use as a straight-on tablet without feeling like it's bulky or heavy. My issue, of course, and yours too, was micro USB, which I cannot do micro USB anymore. Just no. Either give me some weird proprietary thing or just Type-C.
Yeah, we're at that point where proprietary is better than micro USB.
yeah, micro USB is just is really terrible. And I just feel like if I hope Lenovo didn't give up on Yoga Book. They spent a lot of money researching it. Of course, ironically, it was for Android. Last minute, they put Windows 10 on it. But like it also has pen support, but the pen support is right on that second half, which is weird.
And although the pen kind of works on the screen, but not for inking, which was just a big surprise to me. It's like, that's so strange.
Yeah. Well, you know why? It was because, like I said, this was originally developed for Android, which doesn't support that. Right. So the way the hardware was made was afterthought for Windows. But yeah, they put inking on the screen. That device, for me, has so much potential, so much more usefulness. And you used to joke about it. It was thin enough to put in your pocket. You could just kind of carry this thing around with you. It was so light and thin. So I don't know. I think that's why we don't have those form factors, but
you are right.
Interesting.
That is the perfect 2-in-1 sort of tablet. Whereas, the Surface Book is a 2-in-1, but it's a laptop first. Yeah. And the Surface Pro is kind of like a clunky... I would say clunky, but you know what I mean. The Yoga Book was thin enough and light enough and sleek enough to be. You could give it to someone in tablet mode, and they would probably think it's just a normal tablet. Right. That's how thin it was. And I thinking about I want a Yoga Book that has
even the speakers were good on that thing. Yeah, way better than you would expect they were.
Yeah, that could be like how they might be planning with the Surface phone, like something along those lines of like something that can fold, but is like when it's folded out, it's like a tablet. When it's folded in, it's whatever. It's a good idea. And so quickly rounding back to the NuVision, do I recommend it for its price tag? Absolutely. If you're looking for a mini tablet, which I know pretty much no one is these days, you totally go for this one. This one's really great, and I have enjoyed my time using it. Although don't drop it, because I just dropped it slightly and I've got a little chip in the corner now.
You love dropping.
I know.
Zach got the HP Elite X3 last year. He's one of the first ones to get it, and he like dropped it and shattered the screen. This indestructible device.
It was like
he
2
shattered
days,
it,
and I didn't tell anyone for weeks. I felt so embarrassed.
That's pretty funny. I also should point out, people in comments for your review mentioned it's a great tablet at its price point for kids. If you want to give, I guess parenting is easier now. Kid wants attention and love and affection. You just give them a piece of technology with a shiny screen and shoo them away.
Quality family time.
Yeah, so this tablet apparently is pretty decent for that. Although they did mention that, it is a little bit delicate as well. So
the other thing that I'd complain about, speakers are one of them, and Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi on it is dog awful. It's so slow and just...
it doesn't have 5 gigahertz support.
It doesn't. Even my 2.4 gigahertz devices have faster Wi-Fi than this thing. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's something to do with the internals inside, but I've seen plenty of other reviews on this, and they also complain about the same thing. Wi-Fi on this tablet is slow. It takes forever to check for updates, for example. And just like one of the times I was trying to load Google homepage, and it was like loading. I was like, there's got to be some kind of hardware issue going on here. I don't know, but the Wi-Fi on it's not great, so keep that in mind as well.
That would be solved with the Qualcomm stuff,
right?
Because they have very good Wi-Fi, and they can support very large chunks of bandwidth. Obviously, this stuff gets complicated with what does the actual Wi-Fi chip support, and then what's the ability for it to handle all the data that actually comes through. Part of that's going to be on Atom too, right? Atom you can give it like a 3 gigs of data, and it's like, yeah, okay, I'll chug through that in about a week. So it's not even, there's a lot going on there. But I think this is really where the Qualcomm stuff could have a bigger impact.
Yeah,
So.
I would hope that the Qualcomm stuff breathes new life into these smaller tablets, because Windows on tablets, I mean, apart from the tablet mode experience, which still is, I'd argue, subpar compared to the Windows 8.1 tablet experience, for example. Right. That aside, Windows tablets aren't all that bad. Like with the Surface Pro, for example, I know Microsoft calls it a laptop. It's not. It's a tablet, first and foremost, and it's a great one at that. It's a really great Windows tablet.
I think they did that because most people use it as a laptop. Right. I mean, because the tablet experience is not very
but
good.
you can't tell me that you've detached the keyboard from the Surface Pro and gone, man, this thing is terrible without the keyboard. It's not. It's still a great sort of thing.
Yeah, but no one buys it. I mean, who buys it without the keyboard?
People without the money to buy the keyboard. That's it.
I'll buy that now, and I'll buy the keyboard
later.
A couple of weeks. Yeah,
that's how I bought my original Surface RT. I bought the Surface RT without the keyboard and used it with just as a tablet for the first, I think, 3 weeks I had it, and I was like, can't do this no more. Got the keyboard.
Well, I mean, that's why people talk about why don't they include the keyboard? But if they did, they would have to just give you black.
If they did, just stop selling the Surface Pro and sell the Surface laptop.
Yeah. So I mean, the whole reason why they don't include the keyboard is because there's 3 or 4 colors. There's sometimes been up to, I think, 6 colors, and now they have the NFL ones, and so that's another reason. But interesting stuff going on. Like I said, we talk about this all the time when it comes to computing. Form factors are changing. I think tablets are a dead and dying category. I think people's smartphones have really replaced that. There's also the fact that what I brought up, which is, you got a tablet, it's cool to consume stuff as soon as you want to do any kind of, that's the weird thing with Windows. It's like, oh, this can actually run full Outlook and I can run all these productivity apps. But then when you want to try to use them, it's sort of like, I don't know. Well, I saw a tweet the other day. Someone said they saw someone at the airport. Oh, it was Jonathan Guthman. I think he used to do the Surface PR. He said he saw someone at the airport and they had an iPad Pro and they had the keyboard thing and it was mounted and held up and they were tapping on the screen to type, even though they had the full keyboard below. And so there's just these weird issues that people have with these kind of devices that need to be sort of figured out. And, a lot of it's hardware dependent, some of it's software dependent. But yeah.
I think it's funny because if you cast your mind back, 7 years or so, it wasn't as complicated when it came to tablets. You had 3 distinct kind of computers. You had a laptop, you had a tablet, and you had a desktop. There was none of this hybrid rubbish. You had you had a laptop and an iPad, and then maybe you had a desktop of some kind. That's pretty much
but it was terrible when you traveled. You had to carry a phone, a tablet, a laptop, and then all the chargers. And it was just if you want to travel light, you had to make that decision. What do I bring? Do I go light with the tablet or I bring the full laptop? Now these devices are sort of, I know that's why I said the Surface Pro for me. Although I use a Surface laptop probably a little bit more often, I think the Surface Pro is a more interesting and forward-looking device. Definitely more flexible, and probably the better bet for a lot of people. But I don't know. It's kind of interesting stuff. I guess we'll briefly talk here about the Surface Arc mouse, which I actually have here in front of me. So I've actually had this for weeks, and I just never got around to reviewing it. It's hard to get excited about reviewing
a mouse.
But I did it for you guys. And I'm a longtime user of this guy here, so I don't even remember what it's called. It's Surface Mouse Touch Surface Edition Arc. I don't know. They've had 20 names for these things over the years. There's a lot of Arc mice. So these mice are really cool, though. If you've never seen one, it lays flat. And this is the beauty of it. One of my bags even has a special pocket for this mouse. It just literally slides in. So if you're like me, I like to carry stuff very light in the sense I don't like bulges in my bag. I like to have the tablet or laptop lay flat, and this pops right in there. It's awesome for traveling. Even if you don't need it, it weighs nothing and takes up no space. Putting a full-on mouse into your bag, you're going to get that bulge, so it's a little bit inconvenient. But then when you want to use it, of course, it just does this. It feels like you're going to break it. It makes a snapping noise. You might have heard it on the mic there. And it becomes a full mouse. And it's And I just scrolled on my window. This is actually connected to my Surface Studio. And it gets extremely good battery life. It lasts like 6 months. Suppose I've actually never changed the batteries on this thing. And this one, at least, I got to see if I can do the, hopefully. Actually, I'll put the speaker here. You can hear that. That is like, so this is the old version, and it was cool. It's this haptic feedback, and it simulates a scroll wheel when you use it, and it's just a really neat thing. So this new mouse that's out, and it goes for $79, comes in different colors. Now, I actually like the design of this. I think they did a really beautiful job like this. It's more minimalist. It's smoother looking. It's just not as corny looking. I don't know. There's like, the other one looks a little bit more techie, and this one definitely is just like super minimalist. And it goes a little higher for the arc. It's so weird. It's got like a little extra skin. Yeah. And it can only pair with one device. So this isn't like, your pro mice out there. A lot of people like where they have a switch on the bottom and let you pair multiple devices to it, which is convenient. And what they did though, is instead of having that touch strip on the older version, which simulated a scroll wheel. They got rid of that, but now you can scroll horizontally by moving your finger, so it's a gesture. It actually feels like a trackpad, and the buttons are underneath it, so you got a right and left click. And that's where I feel like there's a missed opportunity. Now, I say this like I'm an engineer, of course. I'm just like, why couldn't they put Windows 10 gestures on this? I feel like I could do 3 fingers, gestures, which would make this a lot more interesting, because then you can use it as a mouse, but then use your fingers to do things. Now, it's probably more complicated. Might drive up the price. I don't know. But I feel like there's a missed opportunity there. Now, you can download the Microsoft keyboard and mouse commander center thing and actually do 3-finger tap, which is convenient. It does give you options there. But it's a nice mouse. I think for people who like to travel, and if you didn't like the haptic strip on the old version, which you could actually disable, it's a good choice. I really like this I feel like it's the best travel mouse just because it does this flat thing, which very few others do. But I still find the older one just better. If you notice between the two, this one is completely symmetrical. Let's see if I can get it there. And this one gets narrower near the bottom. And so this actually fits a little bit better in my hand. Maybe like Trump, I have tiny hands. I don't know. But it's a nice mouse, but it takes a while to get used to. I should also mention, since it's a Bluetooth, there are some people who are absolutely detest Bluetooth mice, and I kind of get that. I'm sympathetic to the idea that, having a wired mouse is definitely preferable. It's going to be more reactive. It's why gamers use wired mice in the first place. But I think for travel and convenience, there's really nothing better. But I still kind of like the old version better. And you can still get the old version, $69, so it's $10 cheaper now, which is kind of nice. But I don't know. It's one of the most innovative mice I've ever seen. Same time, I feel like this version, they could have done a little bit more with it. But there you go. Do you have one of these, or are you planning on getting one of these?
I don't have one, no. I mean, I was going to get the new one, but when I learned it doesn't have that little speaker with the scrolling thing, I was like, I don't want it anymore. The little scrolling thing was awesome. It's awesome, really great, and they got rid of the best feature.
Yeah, I think it was very divisive because when I showed Mark it, he didn't like it at all. Some people just don't like it, and now you can disable it, of course, but I liked the buttons on this better. They were more clear for me. So I like the old version a little bit better, and I really thought that haptic thing, because it's 2 things. There's a little speaker, and there's apparently like a little motor that gives a little vibrate, and it really is interesting how it can kind of fool your brain. It reminds me very much of what Apple did with the Force Touch on their trackpad, which I also think that's a super brilliant thing. If you've never used it, it takes a little while to get used to, but it's a really nice experience, better than physical. I would love Microsoft to put that into their Surface series at some point. I think it's just a better trackpad design. I should say also, one reason I don't feel so strong about these mice too is the fact that these trackpads have gotten so good, especially precision, that I feel less inclined to use a mouse. I do sometimes. I'll use it if I'm really doing serious work, I guess. But the trackpad to me is just more functional, especially with all these gestures. And it's something I lose now with the mouse. And so that's kind of why I don't really use it all that often. But pretty good stuff. If you get a Surface, I would say definitely check it out. But if you liked if you have this old one and you're happy with it, I don't think this new one is an upgrade. If, however, you had this and you hated it or had issues with it, then a new one is probably worth checking out. So it's going to be one of those things, though. It's going to be kind of divisive, but yeah.
Do you know what else was divisive this week? Your
What?
design for your Xbox controller.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. We didn't talk about that. Yeah. So, I don't have it. I have it downstairs. I have my old one here. So
Basically, Dan created an abomination.
Yeah, people hate this one too. But that's what's funny about it. I even like mentioned in that video, I'm like, you probably don't like my design, but that's what's cool. You can make your own. But then again, people show me theirs. I'm like, that looks stupid too. So everybody has their own view of it. I did create a new one that's coming this week though. It's basically going to be gray with the Xbox screen. So it's going to be for my Surface laptop. But yeah, so the Xbox Design Lab launched last year, June 2016, was US, Canada, and Puerto Rico only, unfortunately. But you go to the site, and it's like Moto Maker, right, which came out years ago for the Motorola phones. And you can go and choose make your own controller, and you can pick all the colors and all this kind of stuff. It's updated now. It was announced at E3. And so what's changed is, one, it's in UK, France, and I believe Germany at this time. And it's going wider to other European countries this summer. So it's not just those, but all of Europe should be covered too. They're rolling it out. So that's one thing. They've also now added rubber grip as an option to the back, which costs, I believe, $5.99 extra. Though right now they're running it for free. Definitely worth it, though. Just gives you that little more tactile feel as opposed to the plastic. They've also added new colors. So there's 4 new colors, which are more neutral. So if you just saw the controller I had, it was very, flamboyant, bright colors. These are more earth tones. If you want something a little bit more subtle, you can now do that. There's also the metallic option. So you can do for the triggers and the D-pad, you can get a metallic finish. Also, I believe $2.99 and $3.99 extra, but those are definitely nice. These are features that were in the Xbox Elite controller that are basically trickling down now to the mainstream lower cost one. I really love this series. It's also one of those stress things, right? Because you can create this controller, you get a 360 view of it, but it's one of those things, right? Until you actually get it in your hands, you don't actually know if you like it or not. So once you commit to it, you're committed. You also, of course, do the laser engraving with it, which is kind of cool. You can put your name on there, your gamer tag. You could put something funny, just like a tattoo. Think about it before you commit. But my biggest thing with these controllers I really like is that they support Bluetooth. And something that's weird that the Xbox Elite controller still does not do, considering its price point, because this is, I believe, if you do everything, it's about $50 to $60 cheaper. But this has Bluetooth in it, Bluetooth 4.0, or it's 4.1, but it works with either. But you can use it with any Windows 10 device that supports Bluetooth. And for me, that's what I use it for. I use it mostly for my laptops and when I travel, although I am using it with my Xbox right now downstairs. And so it's they're really nice controllers. I really like them. There's something cool about the Elite controller. I love doing the short trigger, which is something that's not here. So if you do like first-person shooters, the travel, you can make it shorter. That's still in favor of the Elite controller, which is overall still just a heavier, better build quality. I also noticed just little improvements too. There's less rattle with the new version. So as they're making these, they've been improving them. But if you're looking for, making your own controller, I highly recommend checking out. Just, go easy. The best thing to do too is people submit their galleries of ones they've created. You can get ideas for, how to make yours. Just don't go too crazy and make it, or maybe do. I don't know. Get 2 of them, but they're pretty good value.
They're slightly more expensive than if you were to buy just a pre-made standard Xbox One controller, right?
Yeah, because sometimes you can get just the controller for like $59 or something like that, and then they go up in price a little bit depending on, because Microsoft now has a lot of these controllers available. Oh, and I got to go again. Back in a sec.
All right, so I'm actually going to quickly talk about the Elite controller briefly because they haven't released a new one yet, which is really quite annoying. And me looking at these design controllers, I designed my controller. I'm happy with it. Well, I'm not happy. I'm one of those people where I can't settle on a controller design at all. So I'm designing the controller, and then I get to the buy now button on the controller design website, and then I sit there and go, I wish this was an Elite controller. Why can't I customize an Elite controller? And then I cancel the buy because I want a custom Elite controller instead. That's what I want, but they don't do them.
Yeah, that combined with, well, like I said, I really wish the Elite Controller had Bluetooth. That's still kind of a big deal for me. Because I would just use it more often. They're really easy to pair, which is kind of nice too. So it makes carrying them around pretty good. But yeah, they got to figure that out yet. I'm sure they will, right? I mean, this appears to be quite popular, which is why they're expanding it. Now, it's kind of weird why they don't expand it more. I don't know. I mean, they come from China. So when you do this thing and order it, it just goes to China and they manufacture it and then they send it to you. And I should mention the turnaround. They say up to 2 weeks. It's actually a lot faster than that most of the time. I think they're just playing it safe there just in case. But I just ordered one 2 nights ago. It already shipped and it'll be here Tuesday. So you can get these things in like 5-6 days if you're in a good location. But I think they are figuring this stuff out for, logistics and everything like that. But hopefully we'll see it go to more countries than just Europe and US, of course. But yeah, it's kind of cool. Maybe they'll do this with an actual Xbox someday.
It'd be nice if this eventually trickled its way down to all Microsoft products. Imagine if you could customize the Surface laptop. That'd be really. I know they do 4 set colors, but imagine being able to customize.
Do you want that stress though?
The stress, because you could have. Imagine
I'm in a new house right now. I have to really make such decisions on everything from towel holders and curtain rods and washing machine. It's too much decision making. I almost don't care anymore. And having to commit like $2,000 to like a Surface laptop and then remotely picking colors, it's just wow. I mean, what if you get it and you hated it?
Well, then that sounds like a you problem. You need,
yeah.
Just imagine that you could have like a neon green Alcantara with black keys and like a black outer shell. That looks so good. It looked like a Razer product at that point, but it looks good.
I think logistically this would be
it'd be
a challenge. We're getting there, though. I mean, what's kind of cool about these new economies, with scale, they're able to kind of do these things. And I think this controller is one instance of that. But yeah, I think they want to, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what they do. Yeah,
it's exciting for Xbox because obviously Xbox One X later this year. I might actually get one of those custom controllers for my Xbox One X. I might do I'm very boring when it comes to these designs. I'm like, I just want...
with the Surface laptop, you're like platinum, which is for that's basically the Surface Gray.
Basically, not even kidding. The design that I was going to get for my controller was basically the same color as the Surface all round.
Not even I mean, that's what I did with this new one I ordered. But I put a green for the triggers and green for the D-pad, like the Xbox green.
Oh, nice. Gray. Yeah, and no, it would have been, for me, it would have been the grey on like the faceplate and then black controller buttons and whatever else, because I'm boring and I'm not creative at all. Like I tried to do like random, like crazy out there-ish designs, and then I look at it and go, this is disgusting. Who would want to use this? And then I cancel it.
Do you find salt too spicy?
Right, exactly.
Well, yeah, it's all good stuff. I want to quickly mention for next week, we do have a couple of things coming up. I'll be taking a look at the Surface laptop for gaming. I know a lot of people have questions about that. If you didn't see, I actually did take a look at the 512 gig model of the Surface laptop. People had questions about its SSD, so I broke that down. It turns out it's a faster SSD, not just because they doubled the storage, but because they use the Samsung in there. So if you're going to spend the money, I also point out, I don't think it matters that much for most people, so it's not a big deal, but kind of cool stuff. I'll also give a sneak peek. I don't think I'll get to this next week. I already got a lot going on, but I do have in my possession the new HP EliteBook X360 G2, which I've already reviewed, and it's one of my favorite laptops. But this one has the HP SureView privacy filter, which if you've never seen, go look it up on YouTube. Or we have it on our site too. It's absolutely amazing. What they did was they worked with 3M and they built into the display this ability to make it kind of opaque looking. So if you're flying and you're working on a sensitive document, or you're looking at sensitive photos, you can hit this button, is the F2 button, and the screen gets opaque. And if you're looking at it straight on, you can totally view it. It's a little cloudy, but it's totally viewable. But if you're looking at an angle, everything becomes blurred and you can't see it. It's really just crazy stuff. And so I'll be doing, with Mark, we'll be shooting a video on that and going a deeper dive into it. But as Zach knows, I was shocked to find that this display supports 120 hertz, which I've never seen an Ultrabook with a display at 120 hertz. Now, if you don't know, most displays are 60 hertz. And so all this means is it's like frame rates. You're getting double the images on the display. And animations in Windows 10 look phenomenal at 120. It feels Apple-ish, dare I say. Everything is just smoother and just looks way better. Cortana, the way she pops up, you just see a lot more fluidity with all the apps and everything. And I love it so much that I'm like, why didn't Microsoft put this in their Surface Pro? Like, I mean, again, limitations on the technology. It's probably expensive. I don't know if you try to add, and this does have touch too. It's a full touch screen. It uses the Wacom pen, which is very good. So I guess it can be done. But man, if the Surface Pro had 120 hertz screen, because if you know, the iPad Pro now supports this, and everybody's been going gaga over it. It's hard to show on video, but it's just like going. It's like with TV when you view TV at like was it 24 or 30 frames per second, but then you go to the motion stuff that some people they don't like it, the live thing, like the soap opera effect. It's like that, and so for me, it's such a huge difference that I would have really loved to have seen it in like Surface Pro or Surface Laptop, because I think it just would have been eye candy. Now, I'm still evaluating things like battery life and everything, so it's going to take me a little while to get through this, but presumably uses more battery since it's trying everything twice as fast. But yeah, this is a trend I really hope to see more of, because it's just a gorgeous display. And that's still one of my, if I had to pick two laptops, and this is, ignoring price, right? If you could just afford things, Surface Laptop and the HP EliteBook X360 are my two favorite laptops. They're just both awesome devices. So.
Yeah, I mean, the 120 hertz thing, the way I describe it to people is it feels like you're using your computer, but on slightly fast forward. That's kind of a good way to describe it, because when you move Windows around, it feels like it sticks to the mouse a lot nicer than at 60 hertz and stuff. It is a different, it's a noticeable change in using Windows, put it that way. But yeah, I was surprised at that as well. I couldn't believe it when you told me. It's like, really? They did that?
Yeah, why? I was like, something's weird about this. I mean, this is faster. And then I open up the Intel Control app, and sure enough, it's set to 120, and you can't actually change it. You can't go back to 60, even if you want.
I guess that. Do you reckon that's because of the screen tech and the?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the way SureView works, in the sense that it's got to refresh very quickly to do this magic that they've accomplished.
Do you notice if the refresh rate slows down once with the screen stuff on?
I'll check.
That might be
that's a good question.
One of the ways how they're getting around it, because if it's on, and I guess it might be saving some of the hertz for the blocking stuff, and then giving you the rest. I don't know how.
Yeah,
it works.
I think when SureView's on, it uses more battery. So, right. But yeah, these are things I'll have to kind of evaluate. But very cool stuff. This is what makes it hard, because like this kind of feature, because when you're not using it, it's just a normal laptop, right? You would never even notice. Like, there's no like side effect. Like, the display doesn't look worse when it's not on compared to the version that doesn't have SureView at all. So there's like literally no downside to this. It's just like a cool option. And I would love to see like a lot more PCs have this built in. I think it's a defining, unique feature. I think it's something that a lot of people would benefit from. And if you never used it, you never use it. It's like the screen isn't thicker. There's like really no trade-offs here as far as I can tell. So I would love, Microsoft to use this stuff too. I don't know. I think there is some really neat stuff that's happening with screen tech. So, but yeah, Zach, what do you have for next week coming up? Anything interesting?
I have a whole bunch of editorials. I always forget to pull up the list of things I'm working on for this part of this thing. I'm working on stuff. I've got stuff coming next week. It's going to be very exciting. What about you? Apart from that review?
Yeah, well, the gaming stuff with the Surface Laptop, I got, the HP stuff probably won't be next week. And, I do have a big review coming probably Tuesday.
Oh, yeah. Here's probably the most notable one for me next week. I'm going to do a sort of write-up, because next week will be 1 month since the Surface Laptop was released. I'm going to do a sort of 1 month later, how it's holding up, whether it's disgusting yet, and whatever else. The answer is it's not disgusting yet, but some people might disagree. Also, last thing I'll say, we want to quickly mention our new site design that we are now rolling out.
Actually, just before we do that, I will mention that secret review upcoming is the HP Spectre X2, which if you've been following, you don't know, that's basically HP's answer to the new Surface Pro. And it is a very viable alternative to the Pro if you find its price point too high. And it just does have some advantages and some disadvantages as well. So stay tuned for that. That'll be probably going Tuesday. So it should be a pretty fun one. But I know a lot of people are excited about that. And HP is, I think they're one of the most interesting companies right now. But yeah, so let's talk about quickly site design. Now, this is part one, we should mention. This is not, we did basically the header and some article changes, but there's actually a lot more coming, including the front page.
So yeah, basically we're rolling out a new design. It looks different. It looks nicer. It's faster as well. So those of you, because we had a lot of feedback from people saying the site was pretty slow sometimes on some devices, and yes, we did agree. So we've fixed that for a lot of people. So the site should now perform faster and is a lot more lightweight, which is great. And like I said, Dan said, it is in waves. So the second wave will be, I think, the homepage. We're going to give a new lick of paint, and you can actually. If you want to actually see what it will look like, you can go to imore.com. I think they've already got the design running. Yeah. So if you want to have like a teaser of what it would look like, except with entirely Apple products and whatever, then go to imore and you can see what we're kind of going for.
Pokemon Go.
Yeah, on Windows Central. So yeah, we're very excited about the design. We are interested in your feedback as well, of course. So do tweet me and Dan if you see any issues and whatever else, because we are still ironing out some of the smaller rollout bugs.
Yeah, I know for people who use ad blockers, there's still some issues with certain elements not functioning. We're aware of that.
We're working on it.
Yeah, they'll be addressed. Part of it, as our team was describing, it's whack-a-mole. As soon as you change these things, the ad blockers change again. So we're trying to stay ahead of it. But yeah, if you notice some of those bugs, they'll be fixed over the next few days, hopefully. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, and don't forget, we still have the Windows Central app, which if you just want really, especially on PC, it works very well. I use it actually all the time. It's really good for commenting. That app is free. It's in the store. Also has no ads and just looks really nice as well. So go grab that if you're on Windows 10 or Windows 10 Mobile or HoloLens. You could technically use it there too. But yeah, it's all good stuff. So we'll stick around now for some questions from you guys for the live part of this broadcast. If you're listening to recording, of course, we won't be there, but you can join us on Fridays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which we'll do this podcast live. Also join us on Thursdays for Microsoft Gaming Libations with me, Zach, and Jez. We didn't do it this week, too busy. Hopefully we'll do it next week, though. We'll give away some codes for some games and all that kind of fun stuff. But thanks for tuning in, people, and we'll talk to you later. Take care. Yeah.